Hi, welcome back to Future Fast. And once again, we have Dr. Pratibha Singh. And before we get started with Future Fighter conversations, I hope you've been enjoying Future Fast. And I hope you have heard both the parts of the conversation we've had with Pratibha so far. And if you have not heard, I sincerely urge you, please look up the first part where she shares the journey, and the second part where we talk about what kind of work she's doing and what are the challenges in that space, and also some bit of industry talk that happens in that. So, with that, do share this with those who you think will appreciate it and would be interested in this. And if you're not yet subscribed to Future Fast, do it now. And once again, thank you so much for making time to be here with us. Uh, Welcome to Future Fast one more time.
Thank you. The pleasure's all mine. This has been a fun conversation to have.
Right. Well, uh, with no further ado, I'll just jump into this part of the podcast, which is about future. So, traditionally, I like to start with the question of uh, what's your perspective on the future in general. But uh, I thought maybe we'll start with what do you think will not change in future?
Hmm. Okay. I try not to be so negative most of the and not never say never because people do tend to surprise you. So I think the things will change, hopefully for the better. I'm not gonna say that no, this will never change.
Well, in the sense, see, there are some things we don't want it to change,
Yeah.
right? Like, uh, 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 and some things will anyway change with or without our intervention in it, and
Hmm.
some things uh, are bound to change because whatever is happening, like. So now we are also trying to say keep the climate change also in check. We don't want it to go beyond certain things. So
Absolutely.
so from the part of course, there's a gap from our earlier conversation in the context, but uh, from the part of how the healthcare is being approached, and I think I remember you also saying that yes, that world is going towards more preventive care rather than treating sick. So So those were the changes that you foresee, right?
Yeah.
So in that context, what things you think will not be changing? I mean, from a point of, I think one other point you also made is that uh, changing habits of people are so difficult.
Yeah, it is. It is. But um, I told you I attended an online conference on functional medicine
Yes, you
sometime.
mentioned that.
And there was a very elderly doctor, and he's running his own wellness center in Punjab, I think Chandigarh somewhere. And he received a call from somebody and who just said, "Hey, I want to come by and visit you. Can I?" So this doctor was like, "Yeah, please do." So this guy came to visit them, and he's a very elderly but a very thin guy, and so he tells them that I see that I've heard about the work you're doing, and you're doing very good work, and you're helping a lot of people get healthy and all of that. And I think I had to come down and tell you, and in fact, I do this to anybody that I see doing good work. So this doctor was very curious. He's like, "Why do you do that?" And tell me something about your own stuff. So this guy was supposedly a mafia don kind of a person, right? Completely a criminal history and everything. And he's like, "I used to be massive in size. And there was no vice that I did not partake of. Name it, I did it." He's like, "But one day I was so close to death, it was not funny. And that was not because of, his criminal activities catching up with him, but just a health scare." He's like, "When I saw everything slipping away from my hand, that is when I changed." And he's gotten healthier. Now he's trying to have more people around him get healthier, and when he sees that there are people more who are in this space, who are proactive about helping people, get better health outcomes, he goes and tells them. And you're doing a good job. So this is an actual story that I've heard just a few days back. So yes, habits are hard to break out of. And a lot of things, you ask anybody what is your comfort food, right? Sometimes your comfort food is just that. It gives you so much comfort, but and maybe you like its taste. But after a point, if it starts, you take a bite, you like that. The second bite is disturbing you. You start feeling that, okay, fine, I should stop here. Maybe the first time you will not stop. Maybe the second time you will not stop. But every time when you feel that, at some point you will say, you know what, I either I should stop after the first bite or I should just not have it because it's not worth it. It's not giving me that kind of. So I think little by little, habits will do also change, but they can't be forced. No, but no amount of somebody like me coming and telling somebody will change a habit till you go through that experience, and then you kind of you get mindful of that and say, okay, fine, this is not serving me, I need to let go of it.
Now, what do you think would be the future of one lifestyle, health, and healthcare in this context of your?
So the so this could be a sales talk, but the argument that we try and make is that you can be more aware and you can detect something right now and spend a little money on it right now, as opposed to get that illness and spend money on your actual healthcare costs later, and then you can
So,
spend.
but do you think people will indulge in that for their lifestyle itself, not for the health reasons, but for the lifestyle? Do you think it will get to that?
It is getting to that in a lot of places. It already is beginning.
Like,
Like I see a lot of people proactively, setting up their home gyms. Like here in Delhi, I know a lot of people who cannot step outside because, the air is bad. So they don't want to voluntarily step out in it if they don't have to. They're using air purifiers in their cars. They're using air purifiers in their homes and all of that stuff. And they have home gyms. There are a lot of lifestyle changes already actively happening. A lot of my friends are into growing their own foods. They're trying to like eat clean. Eating out is not as often as it used to be earlier. Street food is already kind of reduced. Um, People are getting into organic, like because all of us, none of us are growing our wheat and rice. Some of my friends, we are already buying wheat and rice. We're already buying cold pressed oils. So that is happening, but that's not as so. It's happening for people who are who are at a certain let's say paying ability. That trickle down has not yet happened. So that is something that needs to happen in a massive way. So as a nation we can be healthier. I don't know if I answered your question.
yeah, I guess that's on the lifestyle and perhaps on the health also on that. And what about healthcare? How do you think?
Healthcare will also change because a lot of people, even the hospitals, right? I mean, at least the CGHs, they already have somebody who's a physiotherapist. They have yoga classes running. They also have Ayurvedic practitioners. So
Mhm.
so that's definitely there. They actively recommend that if you've had a backache, they wouldn't just give you Shelcal. They also tell you, we have a yoga practitioner here. Why don't you consult them for some asanas? Why don't you learn? So at least at that level, that's happening. Um, um, a few years back, Ram Manohar Lohia is a government hospital here. They also had a physiotherapist on board who was teaching exercises for you to do at home. There is a spinal injury center in south of Delhi. They have a telemedicine program to do exercises at home, and they have a doctor who overlooks, the first couple of sessions to see if you have, correct form. Are you doing your exercises well enough? And if you're struggling with some how they can help
These
you
are
out.
government-run facilities,
Yeah, the
and these are
doctor.
what broadcast on TV or they're on
No,
some
these are still subscription services
for a fee.
for a fee, but you don't have to visit the facility itself.
But how are these fees priced at? I mean, is something
A lot of the hospitals that I know are already they already have a tiered pricing, right?
no, but government should be very cheap, right?
Government should be cheap, but then the waiting times and all of that, though they are very crowded.
Uh, okay, so these are private
The private, some of
facilities.
them are private also that are doing that. They
Okay.
will people. So what I'm trying to say is that a lot of the healthcare is not now limited to just these facilities. They are going out. They are getting the para medical teams, let's say, getting involved. That you can do this and this and this as well at home
Mhm.
or under the supervision of somebody and something like that.
Right. But what do you think are the biggest challenges in future from a
Detection,
health detection?
detection of a few, because the access to the detecting facility, technologies, because a lot of these technologies are
I mean,
gathered.
are you referring to some new diseases or are you referring to the existing itself will have still continue to have more problems?
The existing depends, right? Like a cancer, the detection is an issue.
Mm,
A lot of things, the detection is an issue because, um, for example, thyroid, right?
mm,
You get a test done, everybody tells you, your report will come in with your TSH levels wonky and you're on thyronorm. Everybody's on thyronorm. But if you have, let's say, I went through the CGHS system. The doctors asked me a couple of questions. I answered, and they were like, "No, you don't need to get tested."
mhm.
Couple of years again down the line, we insisted on getting tested. I got tested. I am on thyronorm now. It took a few years to modulate my dosage. I'm on 100 wigs now, and my weight doesn't budge. So a lot of people might be going through that. If they try to go through the private thing, so the access is an issue, not the availability of the technology itself, but they're able to get those tests done. So this is something as simple as thyronorm, but for cancer or for diabetes, or let's say kidney issues, where you need an ultrasound or something of that sort. The imaging techniques are expensive. How are you paying for them? So that is a challenge.
Mhm. Right. So, who, according to you, are the people who are impacting the future? I mean, what they are doing today, which is going to impact in future.
Um, the younger crowd, because they are very creative, very imaginative, the kind of solutions that are coming out, right? And it's very cross-disciplinary. So it's actually truly out of the box. You wouldn't put two things that dissimilar together, but they are.
Uh, just who's young? Who's the younger crowd? Okay. Are you saying somebody 20 something?
Yeah, I see a few 20 somethings also.
No, I mean, who who did you have in mind when you said the younger crowd? I mean, is 40 the young or the 20 the young or what is young? Because
I'm in my 40s. I don't consider myself young, but considering that we are all living to our 80s, I think 40 is still, quite young. So,
yeah. So are you referring to the 20 something as the ones who are going to change, uh, impact the future most?
to an extent, but also a lot of people are now taking to entrepreneurship. I don't think they'll change it just by entrepreneurship, but I think a lot of ideas, a lot of tweaking, or that is happening is now happening outside of bigger corporates. Or if it's happening in the bigger corporates, it's happening like 3M has that 15% of time, right?
Mm.
where you say, you can do your tinkering, you can work on your own projects and everything. So
Right. But
that is
that's only few companies have it, right? 3M, Google.
yeah. But if more companies follow suit, I think more of this innovation will happen.
Hmm.
And a lot
Well,
of
uh, see, my take is that, see, we uh, uh, we have a increasing middle ages.
yeah,
Birth rate is coming down, so there is a increasing middle age, and I think India has close to 300 million 65 plus years old, which is nearly the whole of American population, right? Of course, in a 1.4 billion, 300 looks
small.
like small, but 300 is still a significant number, and majority are obviously fairly healthy, but all are going towards unhealthy longer life. So, so I don't know if you say that the younger people, because I see it in startup ecosystem, a lot of younger people think they will make an app which will solve everything. They completely discount on the operations part. They think somebody else will do it, but I will build the application which talks to 10 people. But who will bring those 10 people also? So in that sense, I don't know whether I I don't see a way to agree with you that young, but yes, I do agree that they do come up with very different ideas because the starting points are very different. But somewhere they think things will happen like this. So that is what I fear.
So, what's happening is there is a bit of ageism in place, right? That, somebody who's crossed a particular decade of their life is no longer useful. But if they can get past that, if they can say, like you mentioned, right? Ideas are good, execution also matters. And the execution expertise is, let's say, lying with a different generation. So it has to be, both working together.
Yeah,
And in a lot of places that's happening.
where I think somewhere I think the system has to change. But yeah, it's not about my opinion; it's about
Yeah.
you. So I think I should. Uh, but if you have to name people, individuals, who do you think are impacting, or even institutions, if you so want to, rather than uh, referring to the demographies of younger people will impact. If you have to talk about companies or people, individuals, who do you think are contributing to or impacting the future significantly?
Yeah, I see a lot of people who kind of started something completely opposite to what they kind of studied for. I see a lot of people who get into like fool, right? This is guy who's working from temple waste and he's making those agarbattis and stuff. But his bigger thing is that he's keeping it out of the riverways, the water bodies, and everything. So he's kind of addressing a couple of problems at one go. So that kind of thinking is what's gonna, kind of change things as opposed to, no, we can't do this or we've always done this. In Delhi, a lot of the temple waste, a lot of these, you know, so we have this area called Trans Yamuna, right? So the Yamuna River, there's a whole bridge across it, and they have built barriers because earlier people used to throw their temple waste out of the car windows. So they build those barriers so that this waste, when thrown like that, cannot end in the river. Now there were these JJ clusters around that area. So the kids, right? So what they had done was there are kids standing at smaller distances. So cars will stop. They will hand over the packet to the kids. The kids will throw it, and they've and they've cut out these square windows in the barriers so that now they don't even need the kids. The cars stop. They can take their bags and throw it in the river itself. So if that mentality doesn't change, nothing will change, right? So it's a constant struggle between what should be done and what is being done. Same thing, right? Temple flowers.
Yeah, yeah, right. Okay, interesting.
So I see that, and it again brings me to um, the responsibility of the civic authorities as opposed to the individual authority. We can't expect somebody to come clean up our rivers if we are the ones who are dumping crap in it on a daily basis.
Hmm.
Every time there's a big puja, there's all this amount of. We can also do it with just one flower, right? A lot of individuals are for the Ganesh Chaturthi are making those chocolate Ganeshas and pouring milk over them, the surgeon over, have the milkshake done with, right? But then there are people who are choosing to make those big statues and dump them into the water bodies. Still, so I think for everything, it doesn't really matter which facet of human life. Um, you have things that you can do for the better, and you have things that you can't, or you don't choose not to. It's a question of your choice.
Hmm.
There are some
Right,
people who are working for the better prospects of it, and there are some people who don't think that way. They're thinking that traditionally, so this is how it was.
right.
What is so wrong with what it is that we are doing? But they're not looking at the bigger picture of how what they're doing feeds into what is so wrong.
True. So, Pratibha, are you ready to make some predictions now?
I don't know. I think I just said something which I don't know is predictive, and I wanted to say I didn't want to, get into negative space. But so yeah, please. I mean, let's try if I'm
Let's
any good
go with that.
prediction.
Okay, please, prediction one.
In what space?
I think you're in the health, so please feel free to do that. But if you want to talk about any other space, which is perfectly fine.
So in the health space, I see a lot of at home devices come in. I see a lot of wearables come in. Like we didn't have those SpO2 things in the homes earlier. COVID
Hmm.
changed that, right? We didn't have so many of these AccuChecks earlier, despite the fact that they were on in the market for such a long time. But now everybody is tracking their sugar levels and all of that stuff. I just recently came across a wearable watch which does an ECG for you, and
Oh,
it's FDA
okay.
approved. So these kind of techs, the wearable tech, I think it's going to get more and more advanced, hopefully more accurate, and so healthcare for those who can afford it will be so much more easier to, definitely. And I think that's the challenge where we can, how can we democratize it? For the one percenters, it will be available globally. Also, they have access to it. Even if something's, designed in the US, they can get it. How do we make it possible for somebody sitting in, let's say, Meerut to have a to not let's say die of a heart attack or get a stroke or something? So wearable tech, and a lot of people, there are a lot of hackathons, medtech hackathons are happening here in India also, where people are working on IoT, people are working on, these kind of miniaturized POCTs and all of that stuff. I definitely see a lot of promise in that. So things will get better there because I recently came across it's not a chat bot because it's definitely more effective than that. It's called August and it's on your WhatsApp. So you just message this and then you can start. The first time I tried it, I was just asking it questions and it was giving me some very reasonable answers. The second time, I just got a message from that from the bot itself that if you have any images, you can upload and I can extract data from that and give you answers. So I uploaded my blood work reports and it
Okay,
gave me.
this is for health.
Yeah, this is for health. So
Okay,
imagine when
okay.
you said Apple has put things on our wrist.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
you have these indigenously developed uh,
So
tech.
this is a third party service on WhatsApp, is it? Okay.
And it's quite good. I've been talking about it's called August. If you wish, I can share the numbers. Maybe you can track down the founders of it and talk to them.
Okay, it's India based since it's working here.
And
Okay.
I was quite impressed.
And what? So one is that it's a free service and plus a paid subscription, is it?
Right now, it's a free service, and they answer a
Okay.
specific questions. You can't just keep grilling their heads about it. But for a
Hmm.
beginning, it's not bad.
No, but how are they? How do you think they're securing your personal health data that you shared with them?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that is something that we'll need to get into.
And in fact, all of this will be available to WhatsApp, which is Facebook
Yeah.
parent Meta. So, wow. Okay.
But
Yeah.
somebody that's really looking for answers, that's not that big a concern. And WhatsApp, everybody has it on their phones, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, see, uh, no, I see a value for a business or a venture to build a engagement tool over WhatsApp because people already are on WhatsApp. But only thing I'm wondering is how are they ensuring the
Data
safety
privacy.
of the data and how that gets handled and
No,
okay.
it's not just how it gets handled these days, it's how it gets monetized. What are you doing with that information further?
See, if they are doing a straightforward subscription model, you're paying for it, that is okay. But that is pertaining to your side. But if they further continue to milk the data, then that's where the risk is, right? So,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, but AI has opened up a lot of opportunities. But yeah, these are the threat side or the challenges on these side.
So I think that's again something that's like most people who are operating in this side are GDPR compliant or they try to be, right? That's the first thing that comes into their mind. How are we looking at data privacy? How are we handling it and all of that? So at least in healthcare, there's HIPAA and GDPR that comes in. And then India, the regulation needs to be made tighter. We still have a certain amount of flux there, but I think it'll get there. Like I think US had something called GINA, the Genetic Information Act, but I don't
Mm,
think we have an equivalent here yet. And with the Aadhaar and everything, there was some talk of sequencing and putting that information in a database. But then we have stuff coming out with just the biometric information not being very safe. So how
mm,
do and then there's insurance and all of that stuff that those hassles are there. So that is something that needs to be worked on at a policy level.
right. Okay. So what's the next prediction?
See, science started with Leonardo da Vinci, doing everything. He was drawing, he was making his plane, and he was like doing anatomy and all of that stuff. And then people started specializing, and now you're seeing specialists interacting. So I think we're going to come full circle with that again. It's already happening, right? Mechanical engineers getting into biomedical space and all of that stuff. And I'm interacting with a few people, who are not from a biological background but explain the biology so well. So I think it's getting to get interconnected again. That's one thing that's happening. Already see it happen. It's just going to get more and more interconnected because the
Mm,
extent of specialization that we got into we're still into, but it's like it's just saying that we are knowing more and more and more and more about little less and less and less, but there is a bigger picture in terms of just how the system behaves so
mm,
that everything needs to work. So now there's omics already.
mm.
It's just in biology, but I think it's coming from computational biology as well, right?
Right.
And then all the
So,
instrumentation, it's about engineering and it's about statistics and all of that. So it's just gonna combine again. It is already happening.
well, very recently had a guest on Future Path. So, uh, I urge people to look up Professor Susan. She uh, designed, she even wrote a textbook by the same name called Transition Engineering.
Hmm.
So they offer post graduation programs on transition engineering, which basically involves multidisciplines within the engineering space.
Yeah.
So, uh, in fact, uh, uh, if you say it's a textbook for engineering, it seems very technical, right? But I read that book before talking to her, so I like to do some bit of research,
Yeah. Research.
and I mean it's little technical, but I think it's got very good content. And in fact, I was in the conversation I was telling her that many of it should be opened up for one, not for post graduation alone, but for bachelor program itself, and two, it should not even be restricted to only engineering. It should be made
Right.
open for everybody else because these are fundamental concepts.
Yeah.
Everybody should be able to understand it at early on and be able to apply everywhere because it's most much of it is at the core.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting for the audience who have missed it. Please look up. I don't remember her second name. Professor Susan should help in getting into that.
I'm just so
Yeah,
you. The book is called Transition Engineering, right?
that's right.
I'm actually looking it up to see if there's a Kindle version of it. Building a
Well,
Sustainable Future by Susan Krumdiek.
correct.
Awesome.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, you you said devices will have a significant play in the healthcare space, and uh, the second one, uh,
Wearable tech.
that's the first one, right?
Devices.
Wearable and devices, and uh, third one is the you said cross disciplinary, multidisciplinary, but I'm just not getting the second. So, is there anything else you want to talk about? Make a prediction about? Or
No, I think I leave it at that because I know that every prediction has a 50-50 chance of coming true,
well,
right?
well, I think much of it is already underway, right? It's already
You
in
see it
the vision. It's already in practice somewhere. It's just a matter of time to get to everybody.
happening. I think it is just a matter of time, you know. It's like I feel there's a lot of cycling happening. Things that worked, let's say 30 years back, are now again here, kind of,
Mm,
you know. So
mm.
maybe we didn't see some things in our generation, but we read about them and now they're back.
Well, uh, thank you so much for spending time and giving multiple times, which to complete our three parts. And thank you and wonderful. And to the listeners and audience, you can get all the details about Dr. Pratibha, the kind of work she's doing. There is a brief right below this podcast, and also links are there so you can follow her social handles and her business to keep track of what they're doing. And she's also very approachable. You probably gathered it if you've watched this part. So please get in touch. And I think on the second part towards the end, she did give a shout out. So those of you who want to collaborate with her efforts, please feel free to reach out to her. And if you're not yet subscribed to Future Fast, do it now. And also, lastly, if you think somebody will appreciate this in your circle, please go ahead and share this link with them. And once again, thank you so much, Dr. Pratibha, for being part of Future Fast, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you. I am going to actually, kind of go look into your, previous editions and see, I'll try and catch up and, reach out because I really
Sure.
enjoyed this. I'm sure all the other ones are equally interesting. So I'm
Well,
definitely looking
I,
forward
I
to that.
I would say that, but yes, you've got to figure that. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
I'll definitely be doing that. But this was amazing. Thank you for having me. and I really enjoyed it.
Sure.
You
Thank
take
you
care.
so much.
You have a good day. Bye.
Okay.